Hello guys, in this video I'm gonna explain you the difference between certain terms. So it's gonna be employee, contractor or independent contractor, freelancer and self-employed. As you know, we are accountants and we specialize with taxes and accounting for contractors and small businesses. This is one of the most frequent questions that I get. People who are working as an employee and want to switch to towards being towards contracting, and vice versa, contractors becoming employees. And there's a lot of confusion about around these terms. So I just want to make it crisp clear to you, giving you the main differences, and so you can differentiate between these terms and use them appropriately. So the first thing is that this employment benefits, right? Because as I said, that a lot of time when employees are switching from being an employee to a contractor, they have this thing mind in their mind that, hey, we're gonna have we're gonna be enjoying the same benefits that we used to as an employee. But then they kind of hit certain surprises, and they were like, oh man, why did I become a contractor? I shouldn't have, right? One of the main concern they have is around paid vacation, right? So if you're an employee, let's say you work for an organization, and you have an employment agreement with them, right? So that entitles you to certain employment benefits. Those benefits are provided or are implemented by the government, and or certain jurisdictions, whatever jurisdiction the employer falls under. And also certain benefits are provided by the employer themselves, right? So for example, what could be the employment benefits? It could be the CPP, the EIs, employment insurance. It could be the vacation pay. It could be paid vacation. Stock options is a very important employment benefit that is provided to employees only, right? So and again, there are certain employee benefits which are mandatory for an employer to provide to the employees, and there are certain benefits which an employer by themselves they provide to the employees to keep them, to retain them and keep them happy with them, right? And compensating for the value that they create, right? So employee uh, will be entitled to, or will be eligible for all those employment benefit, whatever the employers decide. Between the employee and the employer. In terms of the contractor, right? I'm actually going to use the other one. All right. So in terms of the contractor, the employment benefits are, it's no. No, they are not entitled to the general employment benefits, which general or any specific employment benefits which are given to a company's employees. For example, this guy works for a company. Let's say he works for McDonald's, and he would get all the employment benefits. But this guy, the contractor who is also working for McDonald's, would not get any of those employment benefits. The same thing would apply to the freelancer. So freelancers are not eligible for those employment benefits as well. So they do not enjoy any employment benefits. It's just whatever the contract or the agreement between the employer, let's say McDonald's, and this freelancer is, they're just entitled to those. All right. And the same would go for the self-employed as well. So the self-employed, it's a big no as well. So the self-employed, they won't have any access or eligibility to enjoy these employment benefits. The second difference would be the control. All right, so what does that mean? Control means, what is the control that a person would have on his or her activities as far as the work is concerned, right? So let's talk about the employee first. So once you sign an employment agreement with an employer, the employer won't have the employee has agreed to work in a certain way or perform certain task or whatever is given to them as a part of their job. They have to perform it according to whatever the employer tells them. Let's say they are working for Insta Accountant. Let's leave the McDonald's, okay? Insta Accountant is better. It's a more of a local example. All right, so if they're working for Insta Accountant, the employee is supposed to work the way the employer tells them to. All right, and that is what is expected off of the employee, and that is what the employee has agreed to. All right, so we would say the employee would have no control on their activities or the way they do work. A little bit, at a micro level, there could be, I'm not saying that how they're going to make the spreadsheets, or maybe they have to follow certain instructions to make a spreadsheet as well, but I'm just saying. All right, so they won't have any control over their activities as long as they are in that in the working hours window. All right, let's take the example of the contractor. So contractor, on the contrary, will have a certain independence and freedom. All right, now again, this is a tricky area where a contractor is differentiated from a freelancer and an employee and a self-employed. The level of control on your activities, right? So a contractor will have to work, let's say, with Insta Accountant, and may agree to work in a certain way by virtue of the contract, because he has signed a contract with Insta Accountant, right? So for example, a contractor could be working for Insta Accountant, and we decide it is decided between the contractor and the employer or the client that you have to start working from 9 a.m. and you have to work until 5 p.m. So you have to be available between this time, or you might have to come to our office and perform your duties. Or this is most of the times, contractors would take on a responsibility of a project or a certain bigger task or assignment. So you have to perform this or provide the service in a certain manner. You have to follow few of the rules. So those rules won't be as strict as employees, but still the contractor might have to follow certain rules given by the employer or the client, right? So I would say this would have the contractor would have control. Yes, he would have control on his activities, about the timings, and maybe he might not have that much flexibility when it comes to the timings. Maybe he has certain restrictions when it comes to the workplace. Maybe he has certain restrictions because let's say if you're working for a financial institution, you might have to use a certain laptop or a computer to work. Or you're not allowed to take that computer or laptop out of their premises. You know what I mean? So what is this? This is a restriction on their activity. So yes, but let's say there is a certain percentage. Yeah, I can call it a partial, but as compared to the employee, yes, they have freedom, they have control over their activities. When it comes to freelancer, it's a big yes. Freelancers would have a good amount of freedom, good amount of control on their activities. Let's say he's working for Insta Accountant. So Insta Accountant has given them an assignment, and Insta Accountant doesn't care if he's working in the night or in the morning. And we might have certain touch point meetings, and then it's all up to the freelancer. Whenever he's working, wherever he's working from, we don't have any restrictions, and he's just performing that job. So that means that this is the percentage of independence or freedom is pretty high as far as the control over his own activities is concerned. Instagram doesn't, the employer don't want, doesn't have any interference in the timings, and in the workplace, in the environment, in the devices, in the equipment, whatever, right? Same goes with the self-employed. So their level of freedom or level of control over their activities, over their timing, over their workplace, and over the way of work is far greater, could be far greater as compared to a contractor. But when it is compared to an employee, it is like, this is a no, this is a yes. So next is, if we talk about, let's say we're gonna call it relationship. So relationship means the relationship between the the person who's working and the employer or the client or the business, right? So in terms of employee, obviously they have a relationship with the business, and it is very restricted, right? So they would have a great, their relationship would be just, that of an employer and an employee. That's it. No other relationship, And I'm gonna explain further so you get the idea why I'm calling it a relationship. So it's a no. So that means the employee and the employer just have one relationship, which is an employer and an employee. That's it, right? But let's say in terms of contractor, freelancer, and self-employed, the relationship could be of a different nature, because it is solely focused on a certain set of activities, or a certain project, or a certain level of performance that is required of the individual, and that's it, right? So for example, the contractor may have, again, over here, just as we talked about the control side of the thing, this kind of works here in relationship as well. For example, so this guy is a contractor, and he's working for a financial institution, and the financial institution puts a restriction on him that, hey, while you're working with us, you cannot serve any other financial institution. While you're working with our bank on this project, you cannot work with another project with with our competitor or another bank, right? This could be a restriction. But again, this is a relationship, right? And they might not have it. So generally, a relationship with the contractor is based on a project. So once a project finishes, the relationship is gone, right? And it's not long term, or it just depends on the timelines of the project. But let's say let's compare that with that of a relationship with an employee. So employer is looking at an employee for a long term. So they have a long term relationship. The employer is saying, okay, this guy, I've hired as a junior staff. Now he's gonna go up and up and up to the director level. I'm just saying. So that's a long term relationship. But in terms of a contractor, freelancer, and self-employed, the relationships are strictly related to just the assignment or the job or the project that they are working on. Once that is done, they might not see each other forever, right? So again, this is, I would say, short term, right? And this relationship with the contractor could be, some terms could be put on the contractor under a certain agreement. As I said, that if you're working for one bank, you cannot work with simultaneously with another bank, right? Or you may work on you may not work for a certain amount of period for our competitor, and this and that. In terms of a freelancer, Normally, freelancer wouldn't have any restrictions as far as the relation is. Yes, the it's strictly limited to a certain project, short term. You do the assignment, you're gone. That's it. Goodbye, right? Uh, Freelancers generally do the same thing for multiple people at the same time frame, right? So generally they won't be restricted on this thing. Hey, you're working for us, you cannot work for our competition. No, it's not like that. Freelancers are free beings, right? So they can work with multiple clients at one time, and multiple clients providing different. They might have their own teams to do this, and most of the times these freelancers and self-employed, they are also called sole proprietors, when they have a team or they register a kind of a business name under that. So they, most of them are these people. Contractors, they don't usually have a name as a sole proprietor. They don't do that. But freelancers would sometimes have a business name and say, hey, I'm ABC Freelancer Company, so we are doing this work and as a business for you. So over here, the relationship, again, short term, right, project oriented, and no terms. And the same applies with this as well, the self-employed, right? So self-employed people also do not have a long-term relationship in that frame, are strictly based on a certain activities or assignments that they're performing, and that could go that could go for a longer time period. A lot of people, they just have to do the same thing or same kind of work, and they've been working with this client or this employer or this company for years, right? But they are working as a self-employed, right? Or they could be contractor as well. Again, as I said, there is no clear boundaries, but you have to decide where you are, right? Looking at these factors. Fourth one would be very important. Let's say this is financial and tax. I know you will be interested in this one. I know that. All right. So for the employee, sorry about that, sir. For the employee, the financial side, let's say a big no, means not really matters. You have agreed to certain terms, certain salary arrangements, certain compensation, certain benefits with the employer, and that's it. You have to perform your job according to whatever the instructions are, and you're doing that. Your financials, do you have any expenses for that, performing that work or that job? Doesn't really matter. Employees, not really matter, unless the employer has provided there are certain things which are or expenses that have to be taken care of by the employer. For example, you're a sales guy, you do travel, or you use the phone or something, or work working from home or something, then you can reimburse the expenses or claim those expenses on your tax return. Other than that, you're just performing, you're just doing your job, and the financial or the expenses and those things really don't matter. As far as the tax is concerned, whatever you're getting as your salary, there is a tax, there are certain taxes which are being deducted already out of your salary, and then the rest of the amount is given to you, the salary check is given to you. So for example, your monthly income tax is deducted at source already from your check, and then sent to the government. So you don't have to take care of your taxes that much. Again, there are certain scenarios, but at a high level, this is what it is, that your employer is deducting your all your taxes, tax related liabilities already, and they're sending it to the government, so that at the end of the year, you don't really have to worry, hey, I have to pay tax or something. You might have to pay tax, but I'm just saying in general. All right. Now, coming to these three. Financial, they are responsible for their income. they are responsible for their expenses, right? To the expenses that they earn, that they incur to earn that income, right? So they can claim those expenses. They have to do a good bookkeeping for recording those expenses. They have to keep the supporting documents for recording, supporting documents for all those expenses, all the invoices and receipts. By the way, we also have an app. It's called ZoomBooks.app. You can download that, and that helps. That is basically made for self-employed and contractors and freelancers to record their income and expenses, so that they don't feel that that difficulty at the end of the year when they have to do their taxes. So coming back, ZoomBooks.app. So the contractor, yes, he can claim expenses, right? So they can claim expenses. Expenses like, what could be the expenses? It could be related to your car. It could be related to your office equipment. It could be related to your home, if you're using your home as an office. All those things, right? So I have made another video on in detail for contractors, in which we what kind of expenses they need to take care of or record properly and claim in their tax return. Very, very important. All right. So again, when it comes to the tax, yes, for the tax, they have to take care of their tax themselves. It is very, very important, especially for people who are switching from employment to being a contractor. This is something that they just ignore or they overlook, and at the end of the day, at the end of the year, they get this surprise that, hey, really, I have to pay income tax now, or I was supposed to take care of the HST or GST. This is a very important area. That is why I always advise self-employed and contractors to have an accountant to take care of these things. You can do it yourself, but unless you know what you're doing, go to some professional who can guide you. All right, because this could become complicated for you if you just make mistakes there. So yes, you have to take care of your expenses, and yes, you have to take care of your taxes, your income tax, your sales tax, GST, your HST yourselves. The employer, the client who's paying you, they are doing no deduction, whatever. Let's say you're working on an hourly rate or a project based, whatever you agreed, they're paying you they're making you the payments. They don't care if you're paying what tax you're going to be paying on that or no. So you have to do your own income statement, like your income and your expenses, and whatever is left at the after that is taxable. Keep that in mind. The same thing works with these as well. Like, you have to take care of your income and expenses, the freelancer people, and also they have to take care of their taxes, right? So this is very important. Again, you cannot ignore this, and you have to be on top of it, because you have to kind of make it a habit to set aside the tax amount, because at the end of the year, usually it's very natural, you end up spending all the money, and at the end of the year you realize that, hey, I had to pay tax on the income. It is so common. I cannot stress on this point. All right. And the same works with this as well, that you have to take care of your tax and your expenses, right? So freelancers, contractors, and self-employed, the financials work the same way. Like the income and the expenses, you have to record. You have to do a good bookkeeping, record keeping for your income, and a good record keeping for your expenses, and then calculate the taxes, pay the taxes. If you're HST and GST, if you're eligible for those and you're collecting those, and then you have to do those filings as well. So you have to stay on top of your taxes all the time. This is very, very important. All right, guys. So I think I've explained this in quite a lot of detail, and I hope this helps, and it kind of clarifies what's the difference between these terms, right? And where do you fall? right? And what's the difference between when you're switching from here to here or here to being an employee. All right, I hope this video helped you. If you like it, you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We are making a lot of informative videos for contractors and small businesses that should help you. All right, have a great day.